Well, hello again. Welcome back to the Better Together podcast. I'm your host, Mike Baker. We have a wonderful conversation ahead today. This episode, we are interviewing Tess Reasor with 208 Recovery. 208 Recovery is this fascinating organization that is just this bundle of hope and joy in our community. Their goal really is to walk alongside people that are working through substance use treatment, living in crisis, just being there to support them. We're going to hear about some success that they've had. We're going to talk about how people can access it. Tess has some great advice for everybody as they are thinking about helping people and their families as they're dealing with difficult challenges. So this is going to be a fascinating conversation. I'm so excited to get into it. So let's just get right into it and chat with Tess. Well, welcome, Tess. Thank you so much for being here today. It is such an honor to have you on the program. It's been really neat watching your program evolve over the last little bit. I mean, we're kindred souls in the work that we do here, and I think that's one of the coolest things about this community is we have amazing partners all around. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm
We're-
glad to get the message out about our organization, 208 Recovery, and yeah,
That's
thanks for
great.
having me.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great conversation. Well, before we get into it, let's go ahead and let's give people a little high level overview. Like, what the heck is 208 Recovery, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we are a peer recovery support center now. We used to just do peer recovery supports, mostly telehealth, people that were incarcerated that wanted to get connected to recovery, helping them like create recovery plans during incarceration so that when they got out, they had a plan. Um, Peer supports is supporting people kind of where they're at and helping them navigate the all the different uh, barriers that they might have or challenges or struggles, and giving them a place to belong,
Hmm.
right? And so our recovery center is really built by the community for the community. Peer supports and recovery coaching. It's based on people with lived experience. I'm a person with 8.5, almost 9 years of long term recovery, and I, struggled with mental health and my own self, and I share that my experiences with other people to help give them hope, that life doesn't have to be hard all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I love the peer support model. I mean, it it's a very natural model for the human condition. I mean,
Mhm.
we've always sought out people that have sort of been there before us, right? And to seek wisdom and to do that, but also just to have that partnership because, being in addiction, mental health, like any of those things, you can feel like you're in this deep, dark abyss and it's lonely and isolating and, people can just feel stuck and having that person that just can lend a helping hand to say, I've been there. I've had some really tough days too. And here's what we're going to do. Like, we're going to take 2 steps forward and I'm going to help make sure we're not having 1 step back. But if 1 step back happens, we're just going to work through it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a magic thing to watch those relationships form. So,
Yeah, it's awesome. I've seen so many people, over the years because I've been working in this field for over 8 years now, and, I got into it right when I got into recovery. I was like, "I know this is what I wanna do. I wanna help people." I was born and raised here, so I tell people, "I've raised enough hell in this town that it's time for me to give back,"
that's great.
like,
Yeah.
and it really was. It was time for me to make that change in my life, and that's really that was, like, my passion, and that was something people always gravitated towards me for advice or
Hmm.
help or that support, because I always came from a very non-judgmental, non-biased place, and in my mind, there's always solutions to the problem, And, it's helping empower people to find those solutions for themselves and to be able to connect to their community. And there does come a point in that darkness when it's like enough is enough.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to do the things and make the changes. But in that transitional time, a lot of people don't know what that change is,
Yep.
or they just need someone to hold their hand out and be like, "Hey man, I'm with you." Like we we really do come from that place of like, here we are. We've been here, everybody's recovery is different. Everybody's journey is different. Every individual is
Yeah.
different, And so um we just we have so much compassion. I have a really great team of state certified peer recovery coaches that are also peer support specialists. And so what that means, there's a little bit of a difference, like credentialing
Mhm.
wise, right? With the state is that your recovery coaches are substance use and peer support is mental health. And so a lot of us have had both, right? Like we struggled with our mental health and we used substances to feel better. And so we are able to work with all of those demographics. We work with people that are not just struggling with substance use, but we have that whole mental health
Mhm.
component and we're seeing everyone, we're seeing we shut our center down on Saturdays and see the kids like youth,
Oh, yeah.
13 to 18 and so our adult, I mean, we're seeing young adults all the way to elderly, people, and addiction does not discriminate.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of walk into that when we were getting started. We were talking about, trying to break down the stigma. So, I mean, for us, this community, I'm gonna say 7, 10 years ago, we had a summer, we had lots of suicide, like things were really tough. And then it was almost this wake up call where we saw this energy in the community and kind of turned into the crisis center. And then our organization, like we continue to really invest in the behavioral health services. Um, it took a big community conversation to just even feel safe talking about that these behavioral health challenges did exist, and that this stigma there, people weren't comfortable reaching out and saying I need help. I think we have made progress. There's still definitely a stigma, and I think when you look at substance abuse, a lot of people don't realize, not everybody gets it done on the first try. And I think as a person that's struggling, anytime that you relapse or whatever, then that's pushing you deeper and darker. But sometimes you have to you're like climbing out of a ladder, to get out of it. And I think that's one of the things people go, oh, why can't you just figure it out? I mean, this is intense stuff. This addiction is, I mean, it's a real thing, and it latches onto your soul, and it like kind of locks you in. Talk about kind of that experience with dealing with stigma in the community, and what other things you guys are doing to just kind of make it normal. Like,
Yeah.
come in, we all need help somehow.
Yeah. Um, we live in a beautiful resort town, and it's easier to say that these problems don't exist
Hmm.
here, right? And so the reality is these problems do exist here, and they are increasing with our
Hmm.
population, right? And we live in an epicenter close to the Washington border, and there's been studies done that this is a high drug trafficking area, right? And we have all the ski resorts and people coming in from out of town, and so with that, we've seen fentanyl come in, and so fentanyl has really made a negative impact
Hmm.
on our community. It really, we families have just been devastated, and people have been devastated in our community, and it's something that we really have pushed to address over the last few years. When we see that, I think with the stigma it can happen to anyone,
Hmm.
right? We look at people that have been overly prescribed medications and ended up where their providers have cut them off. So then they start seeking the, you know, drugs on the street.
Right.
And so but you're going back to stigma is, you're seeing elderly people like
Hmm.
using fentanyl, street fentanyl. Yeah, it doesn't discriminate. We have kids. 208 Recovery, we did a memorial wall, and it's a campaign that we're keeping going, just to honor the people that have lost their lives
Right.
to overdose, and that is, taking their picture so that their families can be like, we're creating awareness that their family members have died, and we have kids all the way down to the age of 13 of someone that had submitted a photo,
Wow, that's just
and
heartbreaking. Yeah.
when you're
Hmm.
online, you see babies,
Right.
that have gotten into it, and
Hmm.
it's just like, but the fentanyl addiction, right? It's like nothing else. It is, and I wasn't personally, addicted to fentanyl, but I see it with the people that
Hmm.
I work with,
Yeah.
and it's not one of those things you can tell someone just to get over,
Right.
and it's not something.
It's just a character
Yeah.
defect. Like, you're not weak.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's
but the reality is that they destroy their relationships with their
right.
families over time, and their families just, they have to set boundaries, and they have to have, for their own sanity and their mental health
Hmm.
too. And so we come up across those barriers where people have, they want recovery. They're maybe not in a like active addiction in that moment, but it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And so I think, just walking alongside them, and like that right there is breaking the stigma. And then when you see someone actually have their breakthrough
Yeah.
in recovery, right? Like that right there is the testimony that breaks the stigma away, that
Hmm.
say that people can recover and people are recovering. And you've had people that have used for years and years and years and decades. I
Yeah.
used for 3 decades, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe
I
I
did
used
it.
that long,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
really did it.
Yeah.
And you see people that were really at a rock bottom, one of their many bottoms, I'm
Hmm.
sure. But when they finally make that breakthrough in recovery and they see how great it is on the other side, they are breaking that stigma.
Yep.
They are contributing to their communities. They're being active. They're doing the amazing things that they've always wanted to do because they finally have connected with. And I always tell them, like, that true authenticity
Hmm.
and like who we are inside. We're not those people when we're using. That is not who we are. That is who we've become, and we've
Right.
forgotten who we were.
Well, and it's numbing, right? I mean, it's just giving people something to feel sometimes after a really hard life. In a previous episode, we were talking with the Inovia Foundation about, building community and what
Mhm.
that's like. And, these are those things that where, you're building community with people that have been through similar challenges. I mean, again, I mean, you reference seeing people get better. Do you have is there a favorite story that you like to share of just seeing somebody just overcome all these odds? Because I think it's so inspiring. I mean, watching somebody beat this thing it's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I do have a favorite story, and she's one of my favorite people. And I met her when I was actually working an agency and was a peer there. And I was at one of the groups, and she had come in and she had her hoodie on and just didn't want anything to do with
Hmm.
this group, and had just relapsed for whatever. And she told me the other day, she goes, I didn't even want to stop.
Yeah.
And so anyway, seeing her through and building that relationship with her to help, to be a part of her recovery and to see her through to where she is today. She's, I want to say, coming up on 5 years sober,
Wow.
and she's like, I have everything now. At one point, she was living in her car, had lost her child. Things had just got turned for the worst, as they normally do in
Hmm.
those types of situations. And we laugh because she pulled up her booking photo, and so we circulate that every once in a while because she looks like a totally different
Oh,
person.
wow.
And you're just like, how did you go from this to this? And right now she's, on her way to doing the peer recovery
Yeah.
support
That's
training.
so cool.
And so we're building the workforce out with these
Mhm.
people that have these success stories that are so amazing, and just to see the transformation, like I feel really blessed to be able to be a part of that and to see the change and to be like, this thing really does work. Like,
That's amazing.
and so we have right now, I think I'm overseeing 13 recovery coaches
Mhm.
here in North Idaho. And people are like, I want to be a recovery coach. I want to, and the enthusiasm and the motivation
Mhm.
for that to be a part of their recovery because they want to be able to give back is part of the momentum, but it's also there's just there's so much to do,
Right.
in the field.
Yeah.
Like in be you can just take there's like it's like a spider web,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, we could do this or we could do
Right.
that and we could do this. And I'm like, okay, stop squirreling.
Yeah.
You gotta ring it in and really focus because there are so many needs in our community. I think, you're well aware, like housing and
Right.
transportation, and we see a lot of these barriers, and it's time consuming, and it really is. It's like that we work in that prevention
Mhm.
of, we don't want to wait till it's a crisis for someone to get the help that they
Right.
need. We want to like try to get to them and help walk through some of these processes and navigate all these barriers. And, with recovery not being linear, like they may be seeing a counselor and then they aren't doing well mentally and they miss appointments. And as agency, it's kind of like you have to come to your appointments.
Right.
Otherwise, we have to discharge you,
Mhm.
and there's a period of time. Well, then they go, what do I do? Then they're stuck in it. So if they have someone in a place that they know that they can go anytime, barrier free, it doesn't matter if you have insurance, it doesn't, there's no requirements. Like you can come and you can talk to someone and at least take an initial step forward.
Right. No, I think it's amazing. The helping professionals, I like to call that group, right? I mean, just the therapists and the substance use treatment therapists and psych prescribers, and I mean, everybody has an impact. But heroes, just like literal heroes. And when I think, like, I guess all of the interactions I've had with our substance use treatment providers, there's just something super special about them because I think you have to get used to seeing people go through that cycle. Again, it doesn't happen the first, so happens for some people first time,
Yeah.
great, we're all done. But they've talked about how you never can fail here, right? Like it's just one step.
Mhm.
And if that step didn't work and we went backwards a little bit, like we're here for you. I mean, we can't physically quit the substance for you, but we're gonna be here and we're gonna support you along the way. And I think that mentality, and then especially tying it back with peer support, it's like we're gonna walk along this journey with you, and we all have bad days, and we cope with that in our own ways. And when you think of prevention and catching kids early and people early, I mean, the world is heavy and deep and hard, and if we can help people have better coping mechanisms early on and try to help people avoid going down this path, that's wonderful. That's a whole different set of skills as a community that we have to work on. But you guys just being there and sort of being that shoulder to lean on when things are challenging, it's an incredible program, and love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we love it too.
Yeah.
It is definitely, it's a passion that I've had since I was in recovery. I was like, what did I need?
Yeah.
And that was really where, like, what did I need when I was going through that?
Hmm.
And I didn't really feel comfortable like talking to my family, and I didn't really know about counseling and all of the things, like the courts actually, I mean, because I have a very long history of like, I have a very
It could
colorful
be our own
life. That's,
podcast, right? That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I got to experience juvenile justice system when I
Hmm.
was young, and I went through and was, county incarceration, and ended up doing like stint. Judge Mitchell's like my savior,
He's
man.
such a great guy.
He's
Oh
such
my
a great
gosh.
guy.
Love
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
And so it's really cool, though, to be able to be on the other side of
Hmm.
things, right? So spending decades in this like justice system and really just struggling. And I would do really great periods of,
Hmm.
stretches of time of like, life's good and I'm working and, got great jobs and like I couldn't, and I always maintained my like maternal,
Hmm.
never lost my kids, thank
Hmm.
God. I mean, means I had some good supports.
Good sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have those
Hmm.
supports, right? And so, but Judge Mitchell gave me a 15-year prison sentence, which is a long time.
Yeah.
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 And I did a rider. And when I went on that rider, I already had known, right, that I was done. Like
Hmm.
I was over it.
Yeah.
Like I was like suicidal, so dark, and I just was over it. And I was like, "Okay, Tess, you can either make a change now and like,
Mhm.
or you can keep going down this road, which is not going to end anywhere well."
Yeah.
And so I got into treatment like the next day. I've been married for 25 years, my poor husband, poor guy. And, uh, and yeah, he got me out of jail and he said, "Tess, you need to do something." And I said,
That's
"Okay."
great.
I said, "I'm going to treatment." And so that was like my first, treatment that I had ever really gotten.
Hmm.
But Mitchell was like, "You're doing 90 and 90
Yeah.
and, you're doing all the things." And so I definitely, I give it to him. And I don't like using incarceration as our answer
Right.
to helping
Hmm.
people. But sometimes, you know, that is the only way.
Sometimes it's that wake up call or just that time out of the environment.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people think of, judges and the criminal justice system as, having a heart sometimes. But when you talk with Judge Mitchell and I mean people that work in the drug courts, I mean, it was so exciting for them to have a different tool to
Hmm.
say, okay, instead of just throwing people away, like we're going to do things to help
Yeah.
and walk people through it. It was so fun, just talking to him about the drug courts and the different programs and the success. All of our organizations have been connected for so long. Patients would be referred from drug court to us and work with our teams, and then people just kind of cycle through our street medicine program. And I mean, it's just this really cool community of connectors. But there's just always so much heart in it.
Hmm.
One of the questions I ask, and you've kind of taken us on the journey. I like to ask like how you got into your leadership role, and you kind of walked us through that. The one I like to follow up with that on that is it is pretty hard being a leader. It's lonely, like all the weight's on your shoulders. You're coming at this from several different perspectives, but how do you stay grounded when, funding cuts are being thrown your way and you got staff to manage and a community to support? Like, what tools do you lean on to kind of help yourself stay strong?
Well, that's a really good question. Going on vacation.
I love it.
Yeah, once a year,
Yep.
a minimum of like taking a nice 2 to 3 weeks to myself,
Yeah.
with my husband, away from here. I prefer the beach,
We love beaches.
yeah,
Yep.
I'm like somewhere warm in the wintertime because I really do, seasonal depression is a
Yeah.
real,
I mean, I think it really impacts our community. I
yeah.
know my soul just starts to disappear when all those dark days hit. Yeah,
Towards
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of the
Yep,
winter time, you're
yep.
like, "Oh my goodness." But I mean, like here in real life, because not everyone can take
Mhm.
vacations, but I do highly recommend it. Use your credit card, get all your airline
That's
miles,
right.
and
Play the
just book
game.
it, play the game. But here, just that self-care, like being
Yeah.
self-aware enough to being like, "Hey, like I really haven't taken the time to go to the gym. I really haven't, went and got my hair done or, simple like the simple things in life that you're self-care for
Mhm.
you, whatever that looks like. Some people like to go play golf, or I like to be out in nature.
Mhm.
So, like in the summertime, it's camping, and I love being by the river. My middle son just has like a newfound love of fishing,
Oh,
which is
beautiful.
super
Yeah.
fun. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Mhm.
So, family and just grounding and connecting back to our roots of living in the most beautiful place in the Northwest. I grew up here. So, I'm like, we have the most amazing lakes, and I love to snowboard, and I love dirt bike riding, and anything that's going to give me that natural,
Right.
like,
Yeah. And we're
nat-
always chasing that, right? Yeah.
yeah. And
Yep.
so, just those are the things that I do to keep myself healthy, connecting with people. I know that when I start to isolate and, I'm not out in the community, I'm like, okay, Tess, you need
Yeah.
to like get it together a little
Mhm.
bit. And so when I say get it together, sometimes I need to take those breaks from
You
the
do.
community
Yeah.
stuff
Yep.
because it's a lot. And I'm like, we could be in the leadership roles, you could be in meetings all day long, every
Yep.
day, and that can be tiresome.
Absolutely. You
The
have to recharge your soul,
Yeah.
through it. And I always talk, like the therapist we work with. I mean, in therapy, I think, you are kind of trading some of your soul and sharing it with somebody when you're
Mhm.
going through those dark moments and walking through, and that caregiver fatigue, on the other side of it, the provider burnout. I mean, you, it's so important for all of us to just take those extra steps to make sure that, we are feeding and recharging our souls so that we can show up. I know when things get dark and challenging and hard here, if I don't come up and look at sunshine for a minute or go have a beer with a friend or, whatever it is, just like have that time to connect. Um, Things get really hard. And
Yeah.
I think as leaders, it's really important to recognize that. And then creating those spaces for people on our teams, right? Like,
Mhm.
how do we just have fun at work? And, what are those things that make sense for us as organizations? And then really just encouraging other people, like, really should take that day off.
Yeah.
And, don't, I always say, don't miss a family thing because of work. I mean, I know life happens sometimes, but those are the things that actually matter. And, our
Mhm.
jobs are going to be here. So
Yeah.
that's great. It's great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and with the recovery coaches, I just try to get as many of them on board so that when they want to take time off,
Yeah.
I'm like, take the time off,
Right.
like get that time in doing the things that you love to do, because I'm proud of you for knowing what you love,
Mhm.
and that there are positive things, and whether that be music and going to concerts, or just taking a break too. Like, I want everyone to have that flexibility within their schedule, and we'll make it work. And if
Yeah.
I got to step in and do it myself,
I
for them
know.
to be able to do it,
Right.
I'm like, here I am.
Exactly.
And so,
That's
yeah, it's
great.
all teamwork, it's collaboration. We're all better together than we
Mhm.
are
I
individually. And
know.
we've been saying that for a long time,
That's great.
right?
I love it. I mean, that's really how we latch onto the name of the podcast. So like it's just absolutely we are better together. And I think that's the side of it that we want to highlight as we're interviewing our community partners is we rely on you guys and these relationships are so important. But there's so many people out there that don't actually know, what we do, as we go through this. Let's talk about one thing and then we'll work on wrapping up. But so what is there a piece of advice that you would share with somebody, either a parent or a friend, that you're starting to worry about somebody in your life? How do you approach a conversation that might be difficult? Expressing concern and offering support. How do you start that? Because I think you have to do it right and you have to build relationships. But do you want to share some advice? I like to have people learn something as we go through this, and
Yeah.
I think that one, if everybody could master that skill of being there for somebody and helping challenge or helping to kind of open the door for something, maybe that helps our community a little more.
I think honesty.
Hmm.
I think people need to stop being afraid to step up and voice their concerns. And I
Hmm.
think it's okay for people to be like, you know what, I really care about you. I care about you so much that I want to talk about this concern that I have. You know, sometimes it's really difficult for people and they need to just be able to make a plan of
Yeah.
what that looks like too, right? So I tell people, I'm like, just, drop into the center, like just give us a call. We're happy to talk to you about what that conversation looks like. And I've had people call me while I'm on, like out of town,
Yeah.
down in
On the beach,
Boise.
answering
Well,
the
not
phone.
down on the beach, but I mean, even, yeah,
Yeah.
even on my vacations, like
Yeah.
I'll answer my phone,
Mhm.
I make myself available to those that need, and I will talk to you and help you not come up with the solutions,
Yeah.
right? Because I am very much about empowering people to be able to like, but we can navigate and we can explore, and I can be your sound, like we can be the sounding board for what those conversations look like. Some people just want to go through the whole scenario of everything because it's like, you know, I've been to my counselor, I talked, I'm just not getting this, but maybe they need to just talk to multiple people about
Oh,
it.
I love that. I actually I didn't think about, approaching you guys before a conversation was going to happen. And what a great resource to have out there. How do people connect with you guys? So they're planning this conversation, they're worried about somebody, or they've had it. How do people connect with you, to kind of take some next steps? What does that look like?
Yeah, they can just call down to the center. Do I give you
Yeah.
our number?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, it's 208-261-1015. And our phone system is connected to all of our state certified peer recovery coaches. And so one of us will pick up.
That's great.
Yeah,
So
24/7,
call a number and you're going to get some
Yeah.
help.
I definitely do recommend, though, if we are at a point of crisis,
Hmm.
to utilizing the 988
Right.
system, and I think that's an underutilized service here in North
Yep.
Idaho.
Let's tell
Um,
people about it real quick while
yeah,
we're on it.
might as well.
What's 98988?
So I work with 988, which I work for an organization called Benchmark Human
Mhm.
Services, and they work with the 988 system. So I'm a mobile crisis responder. We are the second tier in the three-tier level for, I want to kind of backtrack a
Yeah, you're
little
fine.
bit,
You can
is,
just start over and they'll edit it out. So,
okay. So with 988, I've been seeing a lot of stuff online where people are a little bit confused. They think it's just for suicide,
oh yeah,
right?
I can see that.
And
Yeah,
so they're connecting. They're like, "Oh, I can't call 988 because I'm not
right.
suicidal." And it's like, no,
We'd actually
it's
prefer if you called way before
yeah,
then.
yes. It's
Yeah,
988 suicide and crisis
right.
lifeline. And so I tell people, I'm like, what is crisis? Like, crisis is a multitude of things. We have seen elderly people that have had basic needs that they needed to
Hmm.
be met. We've seen people in very serious psychosis. We just see such a different, like a large array of different types of crises. And you can call if you're in crisis, right? And I like
I
to
think that's really
encourage
important. I'm
it
glad you make
is.
that
And I'm
distinction.
like,
Right.
because, you know, we come out, we are the second tier. So you call 988, you get a dispatcher over the phone or like a counselor, 988 counselor over the phone that you can talk to. They are going to try to help you and support you and give you resources. And if they cannot de escalate or they feel that you are at a higher risk, then they will dispatch that call out to the mobile crisis
Hmm.
responders. We are the mobile responders that go out in the community and meet with the individual that's in crisis. And our job is to try to stabilize and, provide that support in person, give them any resources they may need. We have the ability to transport. So, if they're willing to go to the crisis center, which is the third
Right.
tier of that crisis continuum of care, we can give them, we can take them, we can go with them and do that warm handoff. If they're voluntary, like, man, I really should probably go to the hospital because I just don't feel safe with
Yeah.
myself, like we're there. We'll take you, we'll meet you there, whatever you need, go in and talk to the doctor or the triage nurse that's on call and let them know, give them that warm handoff, and try to get you the care that you need are, what we don't want to happen is for people to get incarcerated
Right.
or
I mean,
crime,
because oftentimes that was the only real resource for
Yeah.
people to even get help,
Yeah.
and having people end up in that particular system when things are already challenging. I mean, I think that's the beauty of the mobile crisis work is you can kind of help de-escalate. If you can just get through the immediate crisis and then start to help people avoid those in the future,
Yeah.
it's powerful.
And so when we're out in crisis and we have people that are really struggling with like they don't have any foundation, we're like, okay, 208 recovery. I try not to I don't make the referrals because I don't want it
Sure.
to be, but
The
but I know,
multiple hats that
yeah,
you
I'm like,
wear,
it is
yes. Yep.
multiple hats, but it's a service that's needed and it's a service
Yep.
that doesn't have any, barriers to it. So it is a place that people can go. So it's kind of like, okay, like you said, we're all working together and
Right.
we're always making referrals to Heritage Health and saying this is the place to go when you lack insurance and you need some navigation and you need healthcare and dental and, all the things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really does take a village to get through it, and I think when I first started here, there was always this thing about, well, that's where the poor people go. I'm like, well, sure, but we're all like one check away from being poor. I mean,
That's
these resources are not they're not just for
a certain
yeah,
demographic.
show up. Like
Yeah.
this is all about community. I mean, every demographic struggles with substance
Mhm.
use. Every demographic has mental health challenges. Every demographic has diabetes and tooth issues. And it's like we just have to build better systems within our community. Like they're here for everybody.
Yeah.
So if you need help, show up.
Mhm.
We're gonna take care of you. Like engage with us. We can't read your mind. And so, we'd love to be able to go find you and catch you before you were having problems. But, the work that, when I look at the work at Heritage over the next 5 years, it's, really shifting into that preventive mindset, getting back to like we were doing that program with the Croc Center where we were helping people, eat better and exercise and,
Mhm.
increasing those connections between people. I think that leads to hopefully less substance use disorders down the road because you're building community. But everybody that's struggling with something now, it's like, how do we tie all these things together and just build a better future for the community? And
Yeah.
so lucky to have you guys in town.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you wanted to cover before we work on wrapping up?
I think we covered a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, for
I
having me.
appreciate you sharing your story as well. We all have our challenges. I love it when people are real. I mean, and I've known you for a long time, and like just have always seen that real piece of you, which is
Thank
such a powerful thing to have. Because when people are in crisis, phony doesn't work,
Right.
right? I mean, we just have to say, look, I may not know everything about your circumstances, but I'm here for you. I'm going to listen if you want to listen, and if I can help, I'm here to help. But we're just going to walk along this journey. And I would say that's probably one of the best ways to describe you is that person that's willing to walk through hell to get people back to the light. And that's an amazing thing. So thank you for all that you're doing. And
Thank you.
thanks for being here today.
Yeah. I appreciate you and
right.
everything you do.
Thank you. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to check out the show notes for any of the resources we talked about. 988 is more than just one particular issue at all. So think of crisis. If you're having a challenge, call 988 and they'll work with you. And then, utilize 208 recovery. I took away today too that, Kyle, if you just need help having a conversation with somebody, there are resources there. And I think that's a powerful resource. So hope people engage with it, check them out, and have a great week.